Hello and welcome to another edition of Santos on Sports, along with my partner in crime, Mr. Chris Santos. I am Paul Santos. Welcome in. We got a lot to talk about today, but first we would like to thank our sponsors, Scotty's Pub, 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River, Citywide Glass with 3 locations to serve you in Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton, Lakeville Athletic Club, Lakeville, Massachusetts, and attorney John B. Seed, located in New Bedford, and you can check his website out at johnseedlaw.com. It's 2025. It's a brand new year, Chris. So what's going on?
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Everything to you, Paul.
Same to you.
I know you're spending it with your family and the new ones, especially, the boys that I've seen in some pictures. So I'm really hoping they're enjoying themselves and you're enjoying your family time.
Yes. Thank you very much. And you as well.
Thank you. As you can see in the background, I have Notre Dame on right now, watching them at the half, 13-3 lead on the big TV. So I was watching the first half. I got my there it is. I got my Notre Dame jacket on. So obviously rooting for the Irish, see if they can advance over Georgia and get the Penn State in the semifinals. But it's been a couple of interesting days. Obviously, the tragic news in New Orleans where this game should have played last night. Instead, postponed, played today at a 4:00 start. But that being said, Paul, let's put the question on the table, and I'm going to bring it out, and I'm going to start with you. Since it's New Year's, everyone has a New Year's resolution, and I'm going to ask you, Paul, and I'm going to ask anybody out there to give us a call. Don't be afraid to, or give us a comment on the chat line. What is your New Year's resolution for the New England Patriots for 2025? And don't tell me it's for everyone to go back into the gym. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear some good answers. So call in if you want, 774-218-3934, Paul?
3393.
Oh, 3933.
Actually, I have to put the number up there, actually.
Right.
There we go.
There you go. So it can call us in. I had on my Facebook page, Matthew Nardone. He says, hire a competent coaching staff for the start of 2025. So that's his resolution as a Patriot fan. James Hilario says, Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel? Watching the Lions this past Monday night just gave me the feels of what he could do here with Drake May. Add some picks and plenty of money still to spend. Either one has to happen, or the idea of winning while Drake May is on a rookie deal is shattered. So we have a little bit about this coaching right now as resolution. What says Paul Santos?
I'm sorry to do a 180-degree flip so quickly. Just from the last Santos on Sports to this Santos on Sports, okay. A complete and total 180.
Go ahead.
I think Mayo's got to go. I think you got to blow it up and start over. And here's the thing, right? I think Gerard Mayer was put in an impossible spot. I don't think it was his fault. They gave him the job. They really didn't put it out there and, really go through the process of interviewing a lot of people and hiring the right person. They just had this thing where, the owner liked him and they had this personal relationship and he decided to go with him with a gut feeling, all that. But here's the thing, right? As of a few weeks ago, I thought, well, it wasn't really his fault and it's not really his fault, but he has really lost everybody. He's lost the faith of the room. He's lost the faith of the veterans. He's lost the faith of the team. They don't have a respect for him for whatever reason. He tried to be too much of a nice guy, and it didn't really work. He doesn't command respect. He's got the offensive coordinator. That guy's like the head coach of the offense. What the hell is that? You're the head coach. There's no head coach of the offense. You want to do something, you're supposed to be calling the shots. It's not his fault. But he's kind of lost the room. The culture of losing is there now. And you have this great opportunity. You've got the number 1 overall pick. You've got a franchise quarterback. You've got the possibility to trade that pick down and get pick after pick after pick, right? So even if you're bad at drafting, you're going to hit on a few of them. And then you've got a boatload of money that you can spend, right? So if you get the right guy in there, let's say it's Mike Vrabel, and you give him the authority to make some picks and buy the groceries, and you give him some money and you let him pick the draft, I think that's the way to go. I'm sorry to say that. I feel bad for the guy. I think Mayo kind of got put in this impossible spot, but it's now time to move on. It's now time to move on. I like the guy, Let's blow it up and start over again. And I would go with Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel has experience. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of Detroit, that's a good one too, offensive guy and all that. He's still a guy that doesn't have experience. This is the New England Patriots. This is like the New York Yankees of football the last 2 decades. This is like the Boston Red Sox got money. This is one of the top markets in the entire country, a great sports town, right? So I say to Mr. Kraft, don't be a cheapskate. Open up the damn wallet, get some free agents, have some, draft picks here, and let's move on. I mean, the people that are there now, like, Elliott Wolf and these guys, do you really trust them to hit on these picks? I mean, they got Drake May, which was a no-brainer. Everybody after that was lousy. So I say let's blow it up and start over. I'm sorry to make a 180. I know I said the exact opposite the last show, but after that Chargers game and what I see from the players, I mean, players are making statements they'd never make with Belichick, right? They're saying to the media, hey, we got to make some changes here. We got to do this. We got to do that. Basically telling you that these coaches don't know what they're doing. And again, it's not their fault. Okay, so that's my thought. We'll get Chris in a second, but I got a call here. You want to go to the call?
Yeah, let's go to a call.
You got a very knowledgeable caller here. He's not only knowledgeable in sports, but he's knowledgeable, in everything. When I fill in on the radio, he calls over there too.
Nice.
So I say to Butch from Acushnet, good evening.
Oh, Paul, how's it going?
Very good. I enjoyed that last call that you gave to the other show. So just a quick shout out there. But what about this? Should they blow it up?
So that's the right thing to do for football operations.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do person-wise, because I agree with you 100%. I think the guy was put into a position where success may not have been the top priority, or the decision to make him the head coach and give him the resources that he had did not equal winning as a priority. I read a report by the gentleman by the last name of Breer the other day.
Yes.
And he in his article, who I kind of read a little bit. I have some. I think he has some credibility around the NFL. And the Patriots. He talked about there's no the size of the coaching staff and assistants for the New England Patriots is a fraction of the size when Bill Belichick was there. They don't have the stat guys, the folks that break down film and do the stats, and they really didn't. There's they really cut corners there as well, that Mayo wasn't given the same resources that maybe Bill. But I'm not saying they didn't give them to him. I'm just saying maybe that's part of the inexperience on Mayo, not knowing or thinking that he needed those type of people to help him be successful. So I don't know whose fault that is. We could blame management because, that's who should take the blame for it. But I agree with you. I this is the opportunity now where they have the number one pick. I do believe that they should trade down. I don't think that they need a quarterback. And if you don't need a quarterback, what are you going to do with the number one pick? They need far, far more than what one man can do for this team. It'll be
Butch, let me cut in for a second, Butch. Let me cut in a second before you go to the draft part of the Patriots. Now, you have to admit, both of you guys have to think that, remember, this is a plan that's been going on for over 2 years. The Crafts had Mayo in the back of their mind for a long time. This is not, I'm just throwing him into the wolves. We need somebody. This was knowledge that says, hey, look, when Bill leaves, this is your team. And he knew exactly what he was getting, how he was getting it, who he had, and everything else to get to this where he is right now, to the point of, as Paul said, the environment is not good. That would be probably my reason that he could go. A lot of people are like, well, he's only been here for 1 year. Not necessarily. He's been around the program. The Crafts wanted him. This was an organization that said, hey, we're going in this direction. You got veterans like Vrabel, who has been on your organization in the past, that you totally bypassed and said, no, forget about it. Now, all of a sudden, you want to go out and get him. See, this is where, to me, this sounds a little awkward to say, hey, wait a minute. If we're putting all our chips on this guy who we have been in touch with for over 2 years and said, this is our guy. Now, all of a sudden, they want to blow it up. I don't know. I don't see if the Crafts want to do that. Paul, what do you think?
I don't know that they want to do that. Butch, you there?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, I was in and out. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. I think Butch makes a good point that, you don't have an offensive line, you don't have the roster. I mean, think about it this way, right? The greatest coach of all time won 4 games. This guy won 3 so far. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, if the greatest coach of all time can only win 4, what can we expect out of Gerard Mayo?
But the year before he won 9 with a rookie quarterback in Mac Jones and made the playoffs.
Yeah,
and then they got worse and worse.
Yeah, I mean, that year that they made the playoffs, I think it was 10-7 they went.
Whatever. They still made it.
That was a little fluky. They had kind
Seems to be a fluke.
they had kind of like a weak schedule at the beginning, and then down the stretch when they started playing people, Mac Jones looked like crap. I mean, and by the way, that so-called greatest coach of all time, he's the one that drove the team into the ditch that we're in now.
Yeah, it's hard to defend that, him having so much control and the results weren't good. So, I mean, it's hard to defend. As big a Bill Belichick fan that I am, it's hard to defend that. Now, again, it probably the time is right to just, make a clean break right here. And they've got to get help. They've got to hire a football guy and stay out of it. I think the more involvement that Mr. Kraft and his son have in football operations, the worse the team gets.
All right, Paul's resolution.
I think a lot of NFL owners do that after some success. Mm-hmm. You see Jerry Jones do it with the Dallas Cowboys after all those Super Bowls, and all of a sudden Jerry Jones thinks he's the greatest general manager. They haven't won a thing. They haven't won a thing since. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's kind of sad. Dynasties, when they end, they never really end very well. So, but it will be interesting. It'll be a lot of good for talk radio, and people be reading up on it and dying to see what the Patriots do with their picks. And
Gerard Mayo is such a likable guy too.
Yeah, for whatever reason, they didn't. They thought they knew better. They said, "This is the man, right? There's no one better for this job." They thought they knew better. They didn't. And when you run big corporations, I guess, you can do what you want when you're the owner. But if you're not going to put your feelers out there and take a look at everybody and everybody's different qualifications and talk to folks, and even best, some of the best things that happens when you do interviews and do this, these great employment searches is that when the guy or the person you pick doesn't work out, you've got a couple of, aces in your pocket to, when you fire them, who you want to bring on. But they bypassed all that stuff. I guess they thought they knew better, and for whatever reason, they promised the guy something, without the experience needed and without the test of the interview process and going through the selection period. Who knows? But boy, you look back 15 years, you'd never think we'd be here today. Patriots #1 draft pick in the NFL.
I know.
So saying that, Butch, Paul's resolution is to get a new coach. If you had one thing, what would it be for you? Same thing, a new coach? Your son chimed in and said they should get a new offensive line. So that's his one thing. What would be yours?
Yeah, I'm with Paul. I don't know if I trust this group to manage these opportunities that they have.
Okay. That makes sense.
I think they need a football guy. Maybe Chris, even if they hired like a chief of football operations that Mayo reported to or something like that, Bill Pop, I'm going to use Bill Parcells as an example, some of the positions he's held in his career. Someone that, can help the guy out, because I'm with Paul. You wonder why Bill Belichick, you want to know why Bill Belichick never talked to the press? Listen to what happened this year. Every time Mayo got up there and said something, then he had to
Absolutely.
go back on and all this other stuff, you know?
That's why he did what he did. He absolutely
That's why he did what he did.
Absolutely. This guy, he was kind of like a rookie, and he's trying to be Mr. Nice Guy. And every sentence that he said, they broke it up and split it apart and analyzed it, which is what they do in talk radio for fun. But he learned the hard way. Now he's not saying as much as he did before.
Yeah, now he looks all frowny and grouchy up there.
Yeah.
It looks like Bill Belichick,
All right, Butch. Well, thank you very much.
All right, man.
All right.
Thanks, Butch.
Let's see. I'm going to try something here.
Okay. So we have 2 for coaches and 1 for a new offensive line.
All right. Let's see what Nelson from Fall River thinks. Hello.
Hello. It's a new year, but the same old problems with the New England Patriots. The same old problems.
Well, yeah, and it's getting worse.
Very worse.
That Chargers game, boy, what a real miserable debacle that was. 40-7. Now, anybody can have an off day, but my God, that really looked bad.
Oh, I had a good day at the sports book. Don't worry about that.
Well, I know you're not a Patriots fan, but suppose you were. What would you do? Would you make any
What's your
kind of wholesale
resolution?
changes? What's your resolution?
The resolution would be, well, look, it's his first year, right? Look, coaches, they always put the best players on the field. They just don't put anyone on that field. The accountability, in my opinion, has to come from the players. They need to step it up big time because they are literally sticking up the joint.
So you think it's really the bad roster and the fact that he really doesn't have a lot to work with that's the problem more than the coach?
Exactly. That's like, Mike Tyson not putting his best effort in his younger years and always getting knocked out, even though he knows he could knock someone out. This year, these players, I have to say it, they are not footing the bill, and they just don't have the eye of the tiger in them. They don't.
When Bill Belichick did not have a good roster, he went 4-13, right? When Bruce Arians had Tom Brady, he won the Super Bowl. So let's see what Chris thinks.
Well, I'm listening to Nelson here, and speaking about putting their best foot forward and their best effort. I guess the Giants decided to do that when they could have tanked it in and get the number 1 pick. Instead, they go out and beat Indianapolis to give the Patriots now the chance to get the number 1 pick. So thanks a lot for that one, Nelson. Really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you to the Giants.
So obviously, that's going to be to that point. But, listen, I can agree there is parts where, yes, players need to step up and take their role and now become the stars of the team. And I thought May has had a decent season. I don't think their running game has been very successful. I think their receiving has been very poor. And so the guys that they've had, and again, a guy like Polk, who they drafted very highly and said that this guy would be something, he's done absolutely nothing in his first year. So there's a player that can say, wow, that's a bust right now. And there's a few more. And obviously in the offensive line, that's something that really needs to be fixed just as much. When you look at a Cole Strange who had to play center against the Chargers the other day, Paul, which is kind of like, whoa, where did this come from? And so now they moved and put him in. But again, they're trying to put people in positions that don't belong there. So they need a lot of revamping. We'll get to, I'm sure Paul and I will get to down the road about what the Patriots should do with their draft pick, whether it's number 1 or if they decide to beat Buffalo this week and let someone else do it. But there's a lot of work to be done with this organization. So, one thing Paul said, the coach, Butch said, the coach, another guy said offensive line. What do you think, Nelson? One thing that the Patriots need to do, the first thing they need to, resolution, what would it be?
Get a better quarterback. And, it all starts with the quarterback.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Oh, geez. That was like a bright spot. What the heck are you talking about?
Get him out of there. Get somebody good as a quarterback. Somebody else. Look, something needs to change dramatically. I just don't think who they have now as a starter, he's not cutting it.
You think you think Drake May hasn't really been positive for the Patriots?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Look, here's the thing. You have to listen. Something, the organization, Kraft, he needs to do something else. Bring in some. Listen, they got the first round draft pick or that pick. Okay, they brought to you by the Giants. Use it wisely. Don't let it go to waste. If not, just give it back to the Giants. You know what I mean? So,
well, listen. So they got they went out and got May at number 3, and now they could have the number 1 pick. But they're not going to go out and get a quarterback at number 1. That's just not going to happen. Now, they could potentially spend some money, as Paul said, and get a free agent quarterback. But I think the Crafts, I think the coaching staff, I even think the organization and the fans just like number 10, and they like the kid, and he's going to stay for as long as he can, as long as he doesn't mess it up. And if they come out with the first pick, whether they trade down and get a host of picks to boost up the line, the receivers, whatever, or they make a splash and take the kid from Colorado and say, hey, here's a receiver. He's a defensive back. The guy can do it all. Maybe we'll take a splash with him. So there's a lot that can be done. But if it's so, Paul, this is interesting that a Giant fan is saying get rid of May.
Yeah.
Look at Washington, right? They took a real calculated risk, and the reward is substantial, right? It all starts with the quarterback. They need to revamp this. But again, we're talking about the Patriots. They're not going nowhere. It's just like the Cowboys. The Cowboys, for another year, has earned a spot on the couch. Congrats.
Well, Butch just made a comment here, Nelson, I'm sorry to say. And he says, Chris, you can't reason with a crazy man or a Giants fan.
Well, listen, you can't reason with people who have the biggest choke in sports when they lost in the Super Bowl against the Giants. So, at the end of the day, it's like this. Okay, you can't reason
twice.
So, look, when it comes to the head coach, they should just keep the head coach, ride with him, right? Give him a chance to prove himself. But again, it all comes to the players. They're stinking up the joint, and we need to spray some Febreze into this organization because they're stinking up the joint.
Nelson, are you keeping the bowler, or is he gone?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a very good question.
Of course it is.
But let me ask you this. The Buffalo is going to, I think, sit Allen down. They're going to put him in, but he's going to come out because they want him to keep his streak. With that said, do you think the Patriots win this game with Josh Allen out?
Personally, I don't. But I didn't think the Giants were going to beat Indianapolis either, and look what happened there.
I couldn't believe that. I really couldn't believe that. Thank God I didn't bet that game.
All right, Nelson. Well, let's see what happens. Let's see if we get the number 1 overall pick. Thank you very much for the call. As usual, it's always fun, and we'll talk to you again.
One more thing.
Yes.
That to the person who made that comment to me.
Yes.
If I was Santa Claus, and since he's a Patriots fan and he's on my list, I don't need to check it twice. He's getting a cold too.
Okay.
He's getting one out. He's out too.
Have a good one.
All right, have a good one. Thank you very much. Nelson from Fall River here on Santos on Sports. If you'd like to jump in, 774-218-3393.
We got 2 for coaches. We got 1 for an offensive line. We got 1 for a quarterback. So
I was surprised on that one. I think that Jaden Daniels is certainly the best quarterback of this rookie class. I don't think there's any question about it. Okay, Drake May, I'm not really sure that he's got that it factor like Daniels has, but it is true though, Chris, isn't it, that Washington did a much better job in their draft. They had a lot of hits besides the quarterback. And yes, it does start with a quarterback, but doesn't he have a better team around them than Drake May?
He's got some receivers that can catch a ball. He's got some running backs that can, run plus catch it out of the backfield. The offensive line is held up better than New England's and Chicago's. If you're talking about Caleb Williams, who's got sacked more than
Right.
anybody else in the NFL. So,
Right, but then again, the couple times where Drake May had the ball in the fourth quarter with a minute left, and he was coming down, he threw an interception.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He kind of like, hey, okay, but I mean, I saw that a couple of times, and I'm like, I don't think I want to see that 4 or 5 more times. Like I think when it comes to the big moment, the big players rise to the occasion. Now again, he's surrounded by a bad roster, so I think it's too early to tell. I like what I see so far, but I got the Daniels kid that last game the other day. That was just terrific. This guy has what the Dallas quarterback doesn't have,
Yeah, but the thing with Daniels is his mobility is outstanding.
Yeah.
He can get out of the pocket. He can make you miss. He's fast. He's got shifty moves. And that
he runs like a running back.
Oh, yeah. And he keeps it longer where now he can get to his big playmakers like a McLaren and an Ertz and some of these other guys on that team that can really help them out. So, he has a little bit more intangibles than maybe the other two guys, because I think Williams's arm is just as strong, and May can move just as good too. And Paul, I've questioned that and I told you that last week. I look at interceptions on what I see. Now, if a guy goes over the middle and he jumps up for it, it touches his hands, ricochets, and the guy intercepts it, I'm not blaming the quarterback.
Not his fault.
I'm blaming the receiver. The guy runs a wrong route and no one's even around and the guy picks it off. I can't blame the quarterback. The connections, those things happen. But if there's a particular one where he's throwing and a guy just cuts across and picks it off, well, I know that that's his fault. I know the difference with my X's and O's to figure out what is true on May and what is not. So I can't go by some of those that he has thrown this year.
All right, so let me ask you this, right? Suppose they decide to keep keep Gerard Mayo. Okay, let's say the Crafts decide they're going to stay with Mayo, right?
Yep.
Now, to me, they got to say, okay, look, we're going to wipe the slate clean and start over again. Gerard Mayo is the head coach of this team. He calls the shots. He makes all the final decisions. I'm not going to say that, well, this guy's the head coach of this and the guy. No, he's the head coach. He calls the shot. Because I think Van Pelt did a pretty good job play calling, but there are a few times that I thought he could have been more aggressive and all that. But where was Gerard Mayo? I mean, I think he was almost like, he couldn't even make the decision to put in, Drake May at the beginning of the season because Van Pelt didn't want to do it. So right at the beginning, he wasn't really calling the shots. If you trust the guy to be the head coach, give him the power to call all the shots. Okay, so let's say you keep Gerard Mayo, right?
Mm-hmm.
He gives his influence on the picks. So say they trade down, they get 3-4 good picks,
Okay.
And he gets to say on, hey, I want this guy, I want that guy, I want this guy, I want that guy. What do you think? Okay. And then you give him money to spend in the free agent. Kraft says, okay, here's, $30 million we're going to spend on free agents, right? Maybe Mayo can pull it together, get an offensive line that's good, like Lucas said, whether it's through the draft or through free agency, build that line, get some good weapons, give Mayo some authority, and then, hey, maybe he can get the 500 next year. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, to me, that would be the way to go if they keep him. Right. Now, you and Butch already have him out the door. So I'm going by what you two, are looking at. But if he does stay, now it's how much range you give him after that, which to me, if you're the head coach, you should have the reins of everything, the reins of which free agent I want, the reins of all the draft picks I'm getting, the reins of, hey, I'd like to trade here, and this is the reason why. And then talk with Van Pelt and talk with this and get it all, all together. But you did hit something on the nail when you first came on, Paul, and that was the environment of the team. That's been talked about over the last 2 to 3 weeks in local media, the environment of the team and what you've heard and what you've seen. And that's what scares me a little bit right now. That needs to change and change big time in New England land.
Right. So I don't know if I actually, because we took the call so quickly, what your resolution was. What do you think about, going with Vrabel or Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, or, sticking with the head coach here, Gerard Mayo, for another year?
Yeah. Listen, as an X and O's guys, I'm and he beat me to the punch, but I'm with Lucas Ferreira, and here's the reason why. I think all good teams start with an offensive line because when you get that, they got holes that you can run through, and they got pass protection that you can throw for. So if you can start with an offensive line that you like, whether it's through free agency, whether it's through the draft, however you do it, I think the New England Patriots have to develop an offensive line that they're confident with. You know, they got to get Andrews back from injury. Obviously, he'll help, but they have to make sure that they got the pieces of the puzzle so you're able to run the ball and you can protect this kid. And I know Washington does a little bit better job. Chicago's terrible. That's why Williams has been getting sacked a million times this year. They have to find a way. Now, think even about the good teams, Paul. Some of these good teams, like Mahomes, got a pretty good line that kind of surrounds him. That's pretty good. Allen's is a little more tricky because Allen's a big guy and he likes to run and take off. And obviously we know what he can do. It's a little different. But for me as an X and O's guy, I think it starts with the offensive line. To me, that's where they have to build from and then work from there.
Okay, let's go to Cassius from New Bedford. Hello.
Hey, what up, man? It's Cassius.
What's going on, Cassius?
And, I've been watching the sports. I haven't been too impressed with Patriots, but I can say that I'm not impressed with Kansas City. Most of the teams that they've beaten have not really had good records. I'm more impressed with the Lions this year. But like you were saying, I really think we do need a new coach. That's how I feel because I watched. There's a lot of games that we could have won. There was also a lot of bad calls. But I really, I think that Mayo isn't the coach for us. And I do feel like we do need a better offensive line because Drake is not the worst quarterback. I actually think he's a little bit better than when Bledsoe was playing. But he needs a good team around him. And, because there's many games but then when it gets to the last couple of seconds, he slows before he goes up to the line. So there's times we could have won if he didn't walk up to reset before so early, too slow. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of games with that. But lately, I think, and honestly, I'm a Patriots fan, but I really think that the Lions are going to take it this year. That's how I feel. I watch football. I love sports. I was at the Celtics championship when they won.
Nice.
I was outside, yeah. So I really feel like the Lions are going to take it this year. That's what I'm calling it right now.
All right. What do you think, Chris?
Well, listen, he talked about the Kansas City Chiefs, and he was right in number one. They haven't scored more than 30 points in a game this year. Number two, in 17 weeks, let's say, I want to say it's like 12 or 13 games, have been decided by single-digit victories, which means they've won games by 4, won games by 7, won games by 6. But that being said, they are still the two-time defending champion, and until you knock them off, they're still the team to beat, and they find ways to win the game. And that's all that you can ask for. So Mahomes, Kelsey, they're going to take this week off. They want to get themselves as healthy as can be, which they will do. They will come back and try to represent the AFC. I'm going to agree with you on I don't think they make it. I've already told Paul I like Baltimore to come out of the AFC. And for some reason, I think Detroit makes it, but they get beat by the Eagles because Philadelphia's defense happens to be just a little bit better than Detroit's. Detroit can score, but you need some defense. They give up a lot of points. If they shape up that defense, and don't get me wrong, they have been injured. I get it. They've been hurt. That will help them when they get healthy, and they'll get better. So it's possible.
And the Bills are looking good this year, too, because I think Bills were one of the Lions' losses, if I'm correct. I could be wrong.
I believe that is true, too. But
Josh Allen, he has just been tremendous.
But again, another team that doesn't play defense, a lot of high score, and they rely on Josh Allen to score 44 or 50 points a game. You've got to find a way to play some defense because other teams are going to come in with a good defense, and they're going to shadow Allen, and they're going to get on him. and it's going to be tougher for him. So defense usually wins championships. They got to find a way to tighten this up for the Detroit Lions. I think they can if they continue to get healthy and get back to what they. But I think it's going to me. I think it's going to be the Eagles and the Ravens.
Yeah. The thing I say is at least it's more of a competition than it was for a while, and I'm liking the football because at one point I didn't even like NFL football. I don't like college because they work harder for it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm starting to see more of a different teams coming out there. And I'm not saying Mahomes ain't a good player. No, I'm not. I'm just saying I don't think they're going to win this year. No matter if it's Eagles or Detroit, I don't feel that they have it this year. That's just how I feel by watching the games that I've seen.
All right. And as far as the Patriots, right? If you were Bob Kraft, you would fire Gerard Mayo. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I
would.
Yep.
All right. All right.
I didn't even like him as a player, to be honest with you.
All right, Cassius. We really appreciate the call.
That's nice talking to you guys.
Call again.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Cassius. Thanks.
Well, you were talking about how the Chiefs have not scored more than 30 points this year, and the point totals are not up there. But yes, they find ways to win, number one.
Sure
number
do.
two, you can win without scoring more than 30 points. Now, I know in today's NFL it's a little different, but look at the last time the Patriots won. What was the score? Was it like 17-10 or something? I mean, we always talk about Brady this, Brady that. I mean, that they won that Super Bowl with the running game that year and the defense. And Brady was great. He handed the ball off or whatever he did. He did what it took to win, which is what you want him to do, right? But it wasn't like he put the team in his back either. That team won because they held the other team scoreless, and they won the game like 17-10 or whatever it was. So the Chiefs' defense, right? They've been pretty good. You know what I mean? So that's really helped Mahomes. And then
very good.
And then you throw in that they've won it before, and Travis Kelce and the it factor and Andy Reid and all that. I still think the Chiefs are dangerous.
No, I'm not saying. Listen, they're two-time champion for a reason, Paul. Don't get me wrong. This team can still take another title. There's no doubt about it. Now they're doing it in different ways this year than normal. That we've seen, block field goals, missed that, different things that have gone in their favor. So that stuff happens. We get it. Now, can it continue to happen like that week after week going into the playoffs? Well, for them, it's been a little bit more than normal. Yes. I don't know if they have all the pieces this year. They've lost some guys. But yeah, they're strong. And I'm sure Andy Reid is going to have them prepared and ready to go. And he's done a great job with the guys that he has, so you can't count them out. But I'm hoping it's the revitalize of Mr. Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens from the AFC against the Eagles from the NFC. That's just my opinion, but we'll see.
Well, when talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Yeah, they haven't really been putting up the points, and they've won games against weak teams, and they've had fluky things like, blocked field goals at the last second and everything. But, if they're in a Super Bowl and the score is 10-10 and, there's a minute left in the game and Mahomes has got the ball, my money's on Mahomes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And that's where guys like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, even Goff, you're going to look at Jalen Hurts. This is when you become the next level quarterback.
Right.
When you talk about what you just said to make you an elite quarterback. And right now, Lamar Jackson has not done that. He needs to get better. Hurts is, going to find his way. The same thing. That's when you become elite. So we're going to see who has it down the stretch and who doesn't.
All right. Well, David Mead mentions here that the Patriots should have never fired Belichick, right? Is that what he's saying?
No, he's saying he's the one that got fired from the Patriots, which is he should have never got fired from the Patriots and Robert Kraft. He thinks Belichick should be coaching the Patriots even now.
He should have never been fired.
Yes.
I don't know too many people that have said that. I think that's like a comment that I wasn't expecting. And I'm
saying that's why the Patriots keep losing.
Yeah, then I got some comments over here. I don't know. Some of them come through this what you're seeing is supposed to be all of the different platforms together, but we got one here. The Kansas City Chiefs are good. They are not a great defense, but they do have a great quarterback.
No, he says they got it. To me, it says the Chiefs are good. They got a great defense and a great quarterback too. So that's David Mead. Also, Adam Bosvert says salute. So salute to you, and I'm glad you're
What
watching.
does that mean?
Well, I mean, salute could be, New Year's salute. Have
Right,
a cocktail or something. I mean, I don't know, salute, have a drink. I'm not sure.
Now picture this, right? The Patriots are playing the Bills, right?
Yeah.
I've rooted for the Patriots. I rooted for them last year, even though they were coming down the stretch and people were saying they should lose games. I root for them all the time. I want them to lose this game.
Not this weekend.
I want them to lose this game, right? So, like, picture this, right? Let's say the Patriots are losing 14-13.
Yep.
And they got the ball with a minute left, and they get down into field goal range. And it comes down to like a 30-yard field goal to win or to not. I'm calling timeout. I'm getting that kicker over there, and I'm saying, you kick that ball right into the ass of that center because they're not going to win this game. I mean, is that bad?
You better
You would lose on purpose? Huh?
You better shank it like Paul's tee shot in golf.
Exactly.
You better find a way to miss that thing.
This is the NFL. You have pride, you have professionalism, everything else. I mean, is it really like bad to go out there and say, you know what, just blow the kick because we want to get the first round pick? I mean, can you do that? I mean, is that something that you should do?
Hey, listen, as much as yesterday, Drake May says, I am healthy and I am ready to play.
Yeah.
And so supposedly he's supposed to be starting. I thought he would be on the bench and Brissett would be playing in the game. Oh, and you don't even have to worry about that.
Look, if Drake May went out there and he beats the backup quarterback of Buffalo, what the hell does that mean? That means absolutely nothing. You put that in the zero column. It doesn't prove anything. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, you get that number one pick, you can trade that down and get a boatload of other stuff that you need. So, I mean, hey, look, so, I mean, look, the Patriots, they didn't do too well with the picks last year, but it's a crapshoot. Some years you do well, some years you don't. Some teams do well, some teams don't. But the more picks you have, the more likely there's going to be some hits. So if you got like 4 or 5 good picks, all you need is a couple of them to hit. You know what I mean? Then you throw in spend some free agent money. You either make it clear that Gerard Mayo is the man in charge, or you get somebody else to do it, whether it's Vrabel or something like that. So in other words, get as many picks as you possibly can, but you got to have the number one pick.
Other thing too is, Paul, this is not a one-year wonder. This would be something. I have the number one pick. I want future number one.
Yes.
I don't just want this year and hope that I'm going to get, a number 2, a number 3, a number 4. No. I want, if I get the one, let's say it's the Giants at number 4. Okay, I'll give you my 1. I'll slide into your 4, but I want your number 1 and your number 3 next year. I want to see moves like that. That separates some good teams to know what to do with a draft. And let's see if that really happens if New England gets the number 1 pick. You need the future. Just can't be 1 year.
Right. Now, if you were going to actually use the pick, which I don't think they should this year, but if you're actually going to use the pick, then, whether it's 1 or 3 or 4 doesn't seem to make that much of a difference. But if you're going to trade it, right, that number 1 pick is much more valuable. You're going to have many more picks for number 1 than number 4.
Oh, absolutely. So, you have to make that decision that if the guy that you want at 1 is your future to go along with the future that you put in last year at number 3, now you have 2 guys that you're spending and saying, these are my 2 future stars of the New England Patriots. Or do I say, okay, now it's time to say, well, I can get a guy at 3 or 4 who we still think can be a good player and a future star, and we can get future picks to continue to help this team down the line.
I agree 100%. Hey, I'm sorry to see that $500 go down the drain, by the way.
Yeah, I knew that was coming up there. I'm just hoping that Notre Dame over here can maybe hang around and maybe I can do something about and get something back out of it.
I see. I got you. Yeah. Anyway, hey, if you want to get into the discussion, we're having a great show here and a great time. 774-218-3393. Hey, we're happy to see you making comments along the side here. But if you want to jump in and talk to us, hey, we don't bite. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your voice. David Mead is making some fun comments here about Tom Brady. How come they were doing well when Tom Brady was there? Now, what is he saying? That we should have Tom Brady be the vice president of the Patriots? Is that what he's saying?
Well, if you put the Tom Brady back as the quarterback VP, the Patriots will do well. We just need a belt check back there on the sidelines. So He's living in the past right now. This David Mead. I think he's got to get back to a little future because I don't see Tom Brady or Bill Belichick walking through the doors in Foxborough.
All right. Happy New Year to Eduardo
Yes,
Rigo.
Happy New Year, Eduardo.
Eduardo
Sorry,
Rigo.
Eduardo.
And
Oh,
I think
yes.
Chris DuPont a little bit earlier wished us Happy New Year. So Happy New Year to Chris DuPont. Really terrific guy. He's a big Bruins fan and a big
Yeah,
Boston
Happy New
fan.
Year, Chris. Listen, 2025, Big Six tonight, Bruins and Rangers. That's interesting stat. The Rangers, who I thought could actually be a front runner this year, I don't know what has happened to them, but man, have they fallen backwards. So let's see if Chris's Bruins can rejuvenate themselves and have a good start to 2025 tonight.
And the Celtics got Minnesota tonight, the Ant-Man and everything, but I don't think that Porzingis, of course, is not going to be there. And because he's injured every other game anyway.
Yeah.
And I think Jaylen Brown's going to be out. So,
Okay.
I see when Chris DuPont says I'm waiting.
Yeah, he must be. He's waiting for the Bruins and Rangers matchup, Paul.
Oh, I see. I thought he was waiting for another cup.
No. He's waiting for his Bruins right now.
He's waiting for another Stanley Cup. Yeah. That might take a while.
The original 6. He's fired up. If the thing was in New York, he'd probably be driving down to MSG right now.
All right, Ben is in Dartmouth. Hey, Ben.
What's up, Paul? Chris, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Ben, Happy New Year.
All right. So first things first, I watched that game. I shouldn't even call that one a game. That was awful. I mean,
what are we going to do, Ben? What are we going to do?
I don't know. We got to fire him.
Fire him. Oh.
Fire him. This is the last straw. I'm telling you. They have given him, this guy, so many warnings. I feel like he's got to go. To be honest with you, that was a complete abomination from a couple weeks, the Bills game. That was terrible. From start to finish, we were getting obliterated. We were getting murdered from start to finish. Ever since Drake went down in the beginning of the game, that turned everything around. How did you rejoice from that? I mean, for crying out loud, I mean,
it was
I'm flabbergasted to say.
It was ugly. There was no question about it.
It was ugly.
I want to say hello to my good friend Scott Tavera. He says, Happy New Year. Patriots did not win 10 games as I predicted. Well, we fell off our chairs when you made that prediction. I was hoping that he'd be right, but obviously he was slightly off.
10 losses.
That's a very optimistic Patriots fan right there, which I understand. But are we overreacting, Chris, to this game? I mean, 40-7, it was awful. It was a debacle. It was terrible. It was ugly. Nobody seemed to know what they were doing. But it is one game, right? So in other words, are we going overboard, or is it true that we look at it and say, you know what, we got to start over again?
Well, I'm going to go with Ben here because I'm going to agree with Ben to say that critics said you have 2 games left to show potential with your team that you can compete in these last 2. Well, it didn't look very good on Sunday, what they did against the Chargers. So now it's like, oh, Mayo has no control over this team, and that's why people are calling for his head. Like Ben, like you, like Butch, people want to move on from Mayo and move on to something else. So,
what about you? What do you think? Should they get rid of Mayo?
No, I don't think he's going. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think
no. But what would you do though, Chris? What would you do?
Oh, what would I do with him?
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know. Again, it's only been 1 year. Even though they had him in the back burner all this time. So I would wait 1 more year. And even if they could get they want to get another Patriot guy to go with him, not saying Vrabel will, come on board, but if he wanted to, like they have him on board just as well and have 2 minds working together, that wouldn't be bad, but I don't think that will happen. But I think the Kraft's dedicated to him and they're going to keep him and he's going to coach again next year.
So, Ben, you think they should blow the whole thing up and start over again?
Yeah, you think? I'm tired of losing, man. I mean, I haven't experienced the old Patriot age, but, to be honest with you, I don't think, like I said last week, he's not a disciplined coach. You could sense it last week as well because they said that Antonio Gibson was going to start over Ramondre Stevenson,
Yeah, right.
and throughout the week he said,
Hang on one second, Ben.
Who took the
Okay.
start?
Hey,
Who
Ben,
took the start?
hang on one second. Hi, hang on for a second, please.
No problem.
Okay.
Hear you.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, no, that was
Repeat it
true.
again?
The discipline. He said he was going to put Stevenson down for all the fumbles, and then he played him anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is just poor communication throughout a coach. You got to be well communicated with your players at all costs. I mean, that's how you know you have no like team moral at all. You don't talk to you're not really a good coaching player.
By the way, Ben, I did want to say something to you because I know you're a young guy, and you made the comment about how you're tired of losing. And I kind of was looking at my friend Chris over there to see what his facial reaction would be, because he says that us Patriots fans, we're spoiled babies and we're complaining about losing after we won for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Chris doesn't even know the experience of winning in the last 26 years with the Cowboys. So,
True story.
no, I'm just kidding.
That's
I'm
true
just
story.
kidding.
We know.
29 years. That's
I had my runs. I get my hopes up when they make the playoffs almost every year, like they normally do. The team who's made the playoffs the most time in the NFL, and
Yeah, what does that mean? They made the playoffs the most.
Then we choke, and then we lose.
They made the playoffs the most time. You can use that for toilet paper. That doesn't mean anything.
Listen, only 32 teams can make the Super Bowl, Paul. Only 32 teams can lose the Super Bowl. It can only be one team that can win. So what do you say about Jacksonville? What do you say about Tennessee? What do you say about Chicago? At least if I'm making the playoffs, I have hopes that I can win the Super Bowl. You got teams who've been in the toilet bowl for over 50 years.
Right.
I mean, I can't say that I'm one of them fans. So yeah, all them people can wipe their ass after every year. Yeah, we know that, Paul. There's no doubt about that.
I suppose making the playoffs and choking, I guess, is better than not making the playoffs at all.
Okay. So let me.
That's your standard. That's pretty bad.
Who's supposed to win this year? Detroit. Okay. Detroit, let's say they don't win, Paul. Detroit hasn't won in 60 years or whatever they've been. So what are you going to say about them? Toilet paper for them too? I mean,
what do you say about that, Ben?
I mean, what are you going to do? Only one team can win.
I don't think they've ever won. They won an NFL championship back in like 1960. That's the only championship that they won.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So if they don't win this year, what's that? Toilet paper? Yeah. 31 teams, you're going to call that.
The Cowboys haven't won since 1996. Their quarterback was Trey. They've been through 10 different head coaches since the year of 1996. And they still have yet to fire Mike McCarthy.
Hey, Ben, the thing is, Chris doesn't understand that, we can't even fit all of the Super Bowl rings on one hand. We have to, it goes over to the other hand because there's been, so many of them. So
between the 60s and 2000, for 40 years, Paul, how much were you wiping then? You were doing a lot of wiping during that time, guys. Let me tell you that. For 40 years, you were wiping every January.
Hey Ben, I'll be looking forward to doing some games with you this year. I'm going to take this one more call, but I'll be looking forward to doing some basketball with you.
All right, Paul, Chris, see you guys soon.
Thanks a lot for calling.
Bye.
All right, Ryan from Rochester. Things are getting interesting here. Let's see if he's there. Wait a minute.
Did you lose Ryan on us?
What did I do here? Ryan from Rochester. Good evening.
Hey, Rhino.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Getting interesting over here, isn't it?
Oh, that is for certain. Sorry for the late call. I just got slammed with Amazon returns up front today.
It's okay.
The usual after the holidays. All right. So,
happy holidays for us, Ryan. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you guys, too. Hope you guys had good ones.
Yes,
we're talking resolution here. And we're talking a lot about getting rid of Mayo. That's what a lot of people are saying. Mayo's got to go. So what's your resolution as a Patriot fan? What do you want to see one thing changed for 2025 with the New England Patriots?
I had a couple of resolutions there. The main one, if I had to pick one,
Yeah.
I'm out doing Mayo, and I'm walking back my walk back from last week, and it is the change at head coach. I walked back my angry text last week because I thought, hey, maybe the Buffalo game was something to build on. Then I went to the Chargers game and saw that debacle go down. I'm like, yeah, that's just kind of a blip. That was just Buffalo having a bad performance after a really rough stretch of really good teams. So the resolution, it's not necessarily just with Mayo, it's with the organization in general. Because I think I've texted you guys about this. That game against the Chargers was a prime example of polar opposites. One organization that's been an abomination over the past few years, and one that's going in the right direction, and which is saying something because Spanos has been considered probably a cheaper owner than Robert. So you got one organization who fired their coach last year, did a legitimate search on all ends, through head coach and also GM, interviewed probably at least 10 different people each. And they came on Jim Harbaugh. Even they had their eyes set on him for a while, but they still did their due diligence, brought him in, hired a GM that worked well with him. And then it was so funny. I don't know if you guys saw the graphic on NFL Network, but they were showing just how bad the trade was for Ladd McConkey when they traded down from 34. He went off for 2 touchdowns, and then all the while Jalen Polk and Javon Baker can't get off the field. So the elevation of Elliott Wolf was also looking like a bad move. And it's just, I'm walking back my walk back because it's just the continued lack of progress. And again, we all knew it was going to be a bad year because the way the roster was. We all knew that. Aside from Drake May, being what he is, there's still just no progress. From a coaching standpoint, it's been a joke. So my resolution for the Crafts would be, to quote the great Mark Bertrand over at Sports Hub, the Crafts just got to suck it up. They need to swallow their pride. They need to admit their mistakes, and they need to fix the mistakes as such, especially with the reports coming out now, legitimately, that Vrabel wants this job really for 2 years running now. So you got to strike while the iron's hot, because he's the top candidate on the market right now, and everyone's pounding on his door. So I say, make the move, do the right thing, do it correctly this time, and you could zero in on Vrabel like the Chargers did with Harbaugh, but still go through do your due diligence, go through an actual process, and then bring him in. Now, do I think it's going to happen that way? I don't think so. I think he's going to be stubborn and retain Mayo, but we'll see how it goes.
How do you think Vrabel would do here in New England, Chris?
Well, Paul, I'm going to go back to what you said about, I think there would be a better environment in this New England organization if he is running the show. I truly believe that. I don't know all the ins and outs about what Mayo's been through, what he's done in the locker room, but I can see on the field and some of the things that he has done in the press, as well as some of the decision-making. I think it would be a better environment, which is a good start. I'll leave it at that.
I think Vrabel would be more like a Parcells, like you walk into the room and command more respect at this particular point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Mayo would earn that down the road, but I just don't think he has that right now.
Yeah, the inexperience there, it's showing. And in a way, I do feel bad because, let's face it, the plan was initially that Bill would coach another year or two, he would break the record, and then on a good, Mayo would be inserted into a good situation. But year too early, and he's got his own accountability issues. I got to call a spade a spade. Now, I wanted the hire to work out, but there's just so many areas, not just on the field, but off at the podium. And I don't know if he caught this too, but on the Sports Hub pregame, he went on, talked to Zoe, talked to Bob Sosi, and said, yeah, Antonio Gibson's going to get the start. Next thing you know, Ramondre Stevenson's the first one out there. So he just keeps stepping in it in every way, shape, or form. It just looks like a clown show right now.
Yeah, and not only just the fumbles, but I think Gibson has actually done really well running the ball. He's done a great job.
I agree. I'd say he's been probably the hardest runner on the team so far. And this past game didn't exactly show because he got blown up in pass protection, but he'll throw a block here and there.
All right. Well, thank you for getting in at the end here. We always enjoy hearing your call, and go Bills.
Go Bills, absolutely. And thanks for having me on again, guys.
All right, thanks very much. Oh man, I can tell you right now, if the Patriots are winning that game, I am going to get a text from Ryan like, no, what are you doing? No, don't win the game. No, blow the game, you know. Oh my God. Should they put in like that Milton at quarterback? I mean, should they really do that? I mean, I don't
Listen,
know.
they got enough problems with Brissett. Never mind putting in even someone else in there. So, no, I don't think you start. I don't even think you start May. But they probably will, maybe a quarter, and then make a move and see how the game flows and just kind of go from there. But this is a game that if they win this game,
Oh
boy,
I haven't rooted against the Patriots my entire life. And the one time I'm rooting against them, they're going to win the damn game, right? That's what's going to happen. I got to tell you, if it comes down to like, they got the ball at the 20-yard line and they have a chip shot at the end of the game to kick a field goal and win, I'm calling a timeout and I'm sending Cole Strange out there to make the kick.
Listen, he can snap it, run back there, hold it, and kick it himself if you want him to do that. I mean,
we need that. We need that. We're number 1 overall pick. We got to get it.
Yeah, well, hopefully it goes in your favor.
All right. Well, thanks to Scotty's Pub, Citywide Glass, Lakeville Athletic Club, and attorney John B. Seat for sponsoring our show. Thanks to all of our callers, Butch and Nelson and Ben and Ryan, and people commenting in the comment line, Eduardo, David Mead, Scott Tavera, Chris Dupont, and everybody else here today. We really, really appreciate that. It's been a fun show. And by the next time we speak, we'll have to find out if we get the number 1 pick or not. We'll have to see if we still get the same coach. A whole heck of a lot of things can happen between now and the next time we chat.
Absolutely. And then I look forward to that when it gets more toward the draft, and we'll have a show, Paul, and get an idea of, what people think around here. What would you do with the number 1 pick? So that will be a fun show as well.
All right. Thank you very much. And Happy New Year to everyone. And we'll talk to you again soon. For Chris Santos, I'm Paul Santos for Santos on Sports. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.